India is all set to welcome its guests for the G20 summit. Within the next few hours, the foreign delegates, the head of states would start entering the national capital, and the first place that they will reach is going to be the Indira Gandhi International Airport. Today we are going to show you the kind of views that would be enjoyed by the delegates and the head of states who would be leaving from the Indira Gandhi International Airport initially to their hotels, and from their hotels to the main spot, that is the Bharat Mandapam, which is right at the heart of Delhi. Making sure that each and every arrangement is on point, the Delhi administration, the Delhi government and the central government has made sure that Delhi is beautified in such a manner that a vibe of India, the vibe of Indian culture reverberates amongst the people out here who would be visiting the national capital to enjoy the upcoming G20 summit or to take part in the upcoming G20 summit. The place from which we are starting is actually the flyover of Terminal 3. Actually, from the departure, we are going down towards the arrival and in fact towards Terminal 2, and you can see the kind of arrangements that has already been made over here. Welcome G20 delegates, Vasudev Kutumbakam. This is the message that the Indian government will try to propagate and will try to propel amongst the people who would be coming out here to join in this G20 event. The entire arrangements have been made in such a way that each and every detail has been worked up to perfection, making sure that whatever meets the eye, it only gives the vibe of peace, happiness, and tells the story of a rising India and a growing Bharat. Welcome G20 delegates is the boards are the hoardings that have been put across this stretch of Terminal 3 right to the Aerocity. We'll show you what kind of arrangements have been made at each and every place out here, from the manner in which this entire gardens have been set up, making sure that a vibe of green India is given, because remember, India has already promised the world that by 2038 India will be a net zero carbon emitting country, and that is what is being showcased over here. The manner in which this entire stretch has been converted into a green stretch where you can see beautiful plants, beautiful grounds that have been put out everywhere, just to make sure that a very green and a very happy vibe is given to each and every person who would be traveling over here. More than 30,000 officials, security officials, be it of the Delhi Police, CRPF, CISF, ITBP, will be deployed over here at the Indira Gandhi International Airport, making sure that each and every nook and corner is covered with security personnel themselves. And not only that, but CCTV cameras counting into thousands have also been placed in each and every nook and corner of the Indira Gandhi International Airport, making sure that everything is covered under the lens of the camera. Also, if I could ask my camera person Pramod Kumar to show you in the visuals over here, the Namaste that has been placed over here, definitely giving out a vibe of how India is now ready to host the world for the first time over the last 18 years since this entire organization of the Global 20, the G20, has been formed. It is for the first time that India has gotten its chairmanship, and it is for the first time that India has gotten the opportunity to go ahead and welcome international delegates to their home. And that is the reason why the vibe of India, the message of India, the vibe of Indian culture is something that can be seen across entire stretches that have now been beautified. This is now the first pit stop that we have reached to. This is the Aerocity, which is very close to the Indira Gandhi International Airport, and if you could see in the visuals over here, this is how this entire stretch has been decorated. Several of the guests, several of the delegates who would be coming over here would be living in this hotel city, the hotel city that is known as the Aerocity. All the likes of international hotels, be it from the JW Marriott to Hyatt, all the international hotels have their outlets over here in which many of the delegates will be staying. And once the delegates reach these hotels have also prepared themselves to welcome all these guests, giving them telling them a story about the Indian culture and how India is ready to welcome them this time around. As we are crossing the Aerocity of the national capital, or the hotel city of the national capital that will lead people straight to the central Delhi. We'll tell you how the second stretch has now been decorated, because this is the first stretch. A few of the delegates would be residing over here. The flyover that you are seeing right next to us is the flyover that has very newly been constructed and leads straight towards Dholakua, and in fact to other places which might go towards Gurugram as well. Now this is the second stretch that is starting from right here. The message of this second stretch is also very, very clear, that how India has changed over the past many decades, and now India is not only a land of snake charmers, of what we have seen, that how the West used to perceive us. This time around, what you are seeing in your visuals is how India is ready to welcome all its guests. The waterfalls, artificial waterfalls, have been made, giving a vibe of the natural beauty that India possesses. Although all these are artificial, but yes, what the message is that this entire stretch has been made in such a way that this tells a story of different states and different national biodiversity. On the other hand, you can see the kind of security arrangement. These are members of the ITBP force who have been deployed over here. Also the elephant, the majestic Indian elephant. Such statues have been also placed across this entire stage, again giving out a message of the biodiversity that India possesses, starting from the waterfalls to the elephants that have been put out here, which are exclusive to India, the majestic Indian elephants. And these elephants, whenever something good is happening, we make sure that we pray to Ganesh Bhagwan, and that is the kind of message that is yet again being given over here. And as soon as you cross the elephants, as the elephants welcome you, you will see this majestic Indian flag that has been put over here. Not only the flag, but also the iconic charkha of Mahatma Gandhi has also been put out here, yet again giving out a message of Indian culture, Indian history, and how India has stepped up leaps and bounds over the past many decades, now ready to lead the world. Now this is the main chalk, or this is the main rendezvous that will lead the delegates straight towards their hotels in Dholakua or in other places of the national capital. Now from this rendezvous, if you could see in the visuals over here, the beautification has been done in an unprecedented manner, absolutely unprecedented manner. And as I mentioned, that the theme of this entire stretch is showcasing the biodiversity of India. Also, you see this entire stretch, the manner in which this entire stretch has been decorated, starting from the fountains that have been put out here in place, to the statues of tigers that have been put in place, of lions that have been put in place, yet again giving a message of a strong India. Whatever has been done out here has been done keeping in mind the message that the Indian government and the Indian administration wants to give out, starting from the iconic symbol of G20 that was given out by the government, the symbol of lotus, and how the national flower of this country is ready to welcome the delegates, the foreign delegates. This time around, you can see the preparations are on point at this point in time. The vehicles of PWD and MCD are watering each and every plant over here, so that whenever the guest starts arriving and crossing this path, what they have to see is absolutely lush, is absolutely green. Now this is the second stretch that we are moving into. This stretch is leading from the Indira Gandhi International Airport towards the Dholakua, and as we go forward in this area, this entire route has not only been beautified but has also been cleansed in such a way that it is very, very difficult to see even a drop of dust. A story that we used to hear from our ancestors whenever they used to travel, from our elders whenever they used to travel to the first world countries such as America and the United Kingdom, they used to say that it is difficult to find any sort of dust or any sort of dirt on the roads, and that is what is happening out here in the national capital. This entire stretch, as I was mentioning, is leading towards Dholakua, and if you could see in the visuals over here, the plantation, the biodiversity, the main motive of this entire stretch is to showcase the different biodiversity of India, and plants from different parts of the countries have been brought out here and have been kept out here in vases for display, showcasing the kind of biodiversity that India possesses. Each and every pillar of this metro line that you are seeing crossing us right now, each and every pillar has been decorated in such a way that a message of welcome is given to all the delegates, with none other than our Prime Minister, who can be seen on all these posters welcoming the delegates, welcoming the head of states themselves. And this is the straight stretch. Over the next few kilometers, we are going to reach the Dholakua area, the ring road, which is going to be one of the most important hotspots spots, as the head of states are going to stay over here over the next few days. Now the visuals that you are seeing on your screens right now are visuals of the third stretch that has been readied to welcome the delegates who would be travelling to the national capital. This third stretch is from Delhi Kent, in fact from very close to Dhaula Kuan, and will lead straight to the hotels where the delegates would be living, specifically to the ITC Maurya and to the Taj Hotel, iconic Taj Hotel in the national capital. This stretch leads the delegates over there straight, and you can see in the visuals the theme of this stretch is going to be the beauty, the modern technology that is being used by India to welcome these delegates, and how India has modernized in the 21st century. A series of fountains have been placed all across this entire stretch, telling how India is now even a step above the world when it comes to the technology advancement that India has shown over the past 1 decade, or probably lesser than that. On either sides of the road, you can see the kind of beautification that has happened over here. It actually, whatever meets the eye, definitely gives a very happy vibe, and definitely puts a smile on the faces of the people, especially the people who would be traveling from different parts of the world and would be coming out here to see the story of India, the Indian story. More than 30 to 50,000 police officials, the Delhi police officials, along with them ITBP officials, CRPF, CISF, all will be deployed along this entire stretch, because remember, the road that we are crossing right now is going to be one of the biggest hotspots in the national capital over the next 3 days, because remember, the head of states of America, the head of states of United Kingdom would be staying in the hotels over here, that is the hotels of ITC Maurya and the iconic Taj Palace. These are the places where the head of states of all these massive big hotel countries would be staying over here, and what they are going to see is the beautified India, the Sardar Patel mark. Because remember, even though India is giving out a message of a greener world, of a cleaner world, what India is making sure it does not forget is the contribution that the Indian freedom fighters have had in the story of India, in the growth story of India, and that is what will be showcased over here. That is in the next stretch that we are going to show you. Now we'll show you the fourth stretch that has been prepared, as the guests from different nations would be traveling to the national capital and would be going, after reaching their hotels, they would be going towards the Bharat Mandapam. Now this is the fourth stretch that you are seeing on your screens right now. The main theme of this stretch is going to be the India struggle to freedom, and how over the past 75 years India has now finally come out on top as a mature democracy, as a mature country, a country that will now lead the entire globe, that is now ready to lead this entire globe. Now, if you could see in the visuals over here, the kind of preparations that have absolutely been made, yet again shows the Indian culture, the Indian flora, the Indian fauna that is on display out here. Not only the national capital, but also from each and every nook and corner of the country. Because remember, the G20 summit that was happening in the country from the past 1 year, the meetings that have happened across all the states, across all the union territories of the country, and that was the mission and that was the motive that India wanted to project when it gets the chance to chair the G20 summit. And this time around, as India is chairing the G20 summit, this is what they are showcasing. Now you can see in the visuals over here, the rendezvous that have been made actually tells a story of the Indian freedom fighters, of how India was once in a grasp of colonial powers, and even before that was in grasp of foreign rulers who came to India, invaded India of its beauty, invaded India of its strengths, invaded India and took away the economy of India. Probably estimate average is somewhere around in trillions of dollars is what the estimate is. And even after that, how India has now grown to the top of the world, how India is now ready to lead the world, to lead the future of this world. And that is what the motto of this time of the G20 event this time around is: one earth, one family, one future. And the message that will be given out is that India will play a pivotal role in that one future that is being showcased through this G20 event. This entire stretch has been developed in such a way that along with the technological, cultural and advancements that have been made by India, the story of the freedom fighters needs to be told. The Indira Gandhi Memorial Trust is right on the right hand side, whereas other old buildings and the Lutyens zone, the Lutyens Delhi is on the right hand side, in fact on the either sides of the streets, because yes, this Lutyen Delhi has also a large history, a large story to tell of how this Lutyen Delhi was set up and was the power capital of the country for many decades when the Britishers were actually ruling over India, and how the power circuits of India were being controlled from this Lutyens Delhi, and that is what is being shown over here from the Lutyens Delhi that have been maintained in the same manner from the 90s. If you could see the architecture of all these houses that have been built over here, several MPs and other VVIPs of the national capital of India, the who's and who of India, have their bungalows over here. They have been designated these bungalows by the Indian government. They stay over here, and if you see the architecture that has been made over here of all these bungalows, these architectures are also very, very British in nature, very colonial in nature, should I say, because yes, generally during the older ages there was not such a culture of building such huge houses for people, and the manner in which all these houses have been made with several grounds, open spaces in and around the area is the kind of architecture that has still been preserved till date by the Indian government. And many of the ministers, many of the who's who of the national capital of the Lutyens Delhi actually live in these places, actually reside in these places. Now this is the final stretch that would be undertaken by the delegates who would be coming out here to the national capital to take part in the upcoming G20 summit. In fact, the stretch will lead them straight to the iconic Bharat Mandapam. Now this stretch actually needs no introduction whatsoever, because anyone who has pictured India in any way or in any manner, this very iconic India Gate is something that everyone will relate to. Everyone will relate this to our country, and this newly built India Gate, the structures that have been newly built out here at the India Gate, especially the statue of Netaji and the newly built Kartavya Path, is also something that India will be showcasing this time around to the delegates who would be coming out here to go to the Bharat Mandapam. You can see in the visuals over here how the preparations are still on. The last minute preparations are still on, making sure that each and every nook and corner of the national capital is covered with greenery. Everything is lush green, and this is the India Gate circle that we are crossing at this point in time. Over the next few minutes we would be reaching the Bharat Mandapam. On my right hand side is the National War Memorial, which is also going to be a very, very beautiful spot. On the left hand side of what we can see on your television screens right now is the iconic Patiala House court, one of the oldest courts that was built in the national capital. And from here, the left we are going to take, and this left will take us straight to New India, India that will welcome the world, India that is advanced in technology, India that is not dependent on anyone. And I'll just try and show you in the visuals over here. This road will lead straight to the newly made the very iconic Bharat Mandapam that is going to become a historic structure in the future of this developing country. The view of the new iconic, beautiful, majestic Bharat Mandapam can be seen. This is the main gate of Bharat Mandapam, and this is the route that will be taken by all the head of nations who would be entering this Bharat Mandapam. This is the Pravesh Dwar. You can see on your screens right now what is written. This is the Pravesh Dwar, and from here the barricades that you are seeing on your screens right now, these barricades would be removed, and the delegates would be leading straight into the Mandapam, where they will be attending this most important and most crucial G20 meeting that is happening in the backdrop of the pandemic, that is happening in the backdrop of a war that is ongoing in Europe, and that is happening where the head of states of all these countries would be arriving over here. Discussions would be happening on the future of the world. The motto of G20 is very, very clear: one earth, one family, and one future.